Hi, and welcome to EDRG 551, Assessment and Instruction. This is the course orientation for spring 2014. So before I do the course overview, I'll introduce myself. My name is Laura Keisler, and I will be your instructor for this semester. I usually teach at Cal State Fullerton. I'm in the reading department, and so you may have noticed that this course was Ed Reading, and I actually teach this course at Fullerton. But I'm going to be here with you at Long Beach this semester, and we're going to take this course, and we're going to still talk about reading and writing, but we're going to make it applicable to those of you in the Curriculum and Instruction Masters. So I'm also very sorry that I couldn't meet with you this first meeting way back when, before I agreed to come and teach this class at Long Beach. I had agreed to go to a school district and do a reading event for them. So I am at the exact same time that we're supposed to meet, I will be speaking to an audience of 300 parents, trying to share strategies for reading with their children. So an important event, but I apologize that I couldn't meet with you the first session. So this is going to be our online course orientation. I'll go over some of the ins and outs of the class, go over a few of the assignments, but when we meet next week in person, I can go over those assignments in more depth. You don't need to listen to them in a recording, but I would like to get you started. So this course is designed to increase the teacher's knowledge and understanding of various forms of classroom-based assessment and assessment's role in improving student achievement. So this is right off of your syllabus. What we're going to do in this class is we're going to examine the knowledge and skill base that supports the effective use of assessments within classrooms and schools, and we're going to spend some time examining the nature and purpose of assessment, its use for improving instruction, and the design of high-quality teacher-developed classroom assessments will be emphasized. So if you took a look at the syllabus and you took a look at the course calendar, what I've tried to do is group the readings and the assignments so that we kind of have an overview of assessment, and then we get into the different types of assessments. And what I really tried to do with the assignments was make them really applicable to the work that you do every day in the classroom. So the text that we're going to use James Popham's 7th edition classroom assessment, What Teachers Need to Know. I hope that none of you have already used this text in another class. It is a very popular textbook, but what's really nice about it is it's geared towards classroom teachers. He uses a lot of rich and relevant examples to make his points about assessments, because some of the topics regarding assessment can seem a little disconnected or perhaps even dry. So he does a good job of making those connections for us and for providing us some really nice examples. There will be some additional readings, and so you'll see, like this week, we have that chapter, and I've taken some chapters from other books that I have on assessment and other articles that I use in the other assessment class that I teach. And so if there are additional readings, those will always be scanned in and posted on Beachboard for you. Alright, so you'll also see in the course resource section of Beachboard, I put all of that stuff up today, you have a syllabus, and then you have a separate course calendar. So all of the information, I just right here just copied a little bit of it to show you an example. All of the information that you need to know is in the syllabus, including this tentative course calendar. The reason I put it on a separate document as well is because I find that sometimes students do not want to print these items out, and so I know personally I find it annoying when I have to pull up the whole syllabus just to scan down to the course calendar. So you just have it on a separate document, a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to read. The only thing you really need to know about the course calendar is that any week that is shaded in gray is a week that we are going to meet online. I know this class is not necessarily officially a hybrid, but I've scheduled some of our evenings online, and so you can be prepared for those. Our course, as you know, is going to meet on Thursdays starting at 5 o'clock, and we are going to be in AS 240. So I will see you there next week. But go ahead and make sure you take a look at the course calendar, take a look at the syllabus, read it over. Like I said, I'm not going to look at, I'm not going to go in depth at every single assignment that you have, because I can do some of that in person with you next week. But do make sure that you take a look. So when you see the assignments here, those are due on the day that we are meeting. So for the week, that date is usually listed over here. These are the assignments that you're expected to bring in or turn in, and those will always be described for you. So let's talk just a little bit about how the class is going to run. So one of the things that I try to do in my classes is I try to create assignments that I think students could potentially use in the future, and assignments that really demonstrate for me the learning that you have acquired in the class. And so you may notice that you do not have the typical, let's say, 10-page paper, 7-page paper, or whatever it is for this course. I, don't necessarily think that every graduate course needs to have a tremendous writing requirement in it. And so this is a class that lends itself really well to some practical, more project-oriented assignments. And that's going to also be one of the things that we discuss over the course of the semester is relevant assessment. And so I thought, of course, I should model that since these are essentially your assessments. You will notice that a large percentage of your grade, 45%, is going to be your class participation. So the reason I've done that is because the way that we're going to run the class is going to require often that you bring in many assignments. So within, let's say, this class participation activities in person, you'll read that you have multiple assignments within that in-person class participation. So rather than weighting each of those assignments individually, I'm grouping them all under class participation. But if you go ahead and take a look at your syllabus, you'll see that, for example, your expert seminar, which is something we're going to be doing in class, is going to count towards this class participation in-person grade. Your blog sharing is going to be part of that discussion, and so I need people to bring, or need students to bring that in every week that we meet, and so that's why it's going to be a large part of your grade. And so there are some other assignments when you analyze the teacher-created assessment. All of that falls under class participation activities, and so that's why, if you're wondering why it's such a large part of the grade, that's why. Then we have the online nights. Online instruction, in my opinion, can be really meaningful if it's put together well. It's important. You can get a lot of good information in there, and what's really nice about it is that you can use a variety of media to deliver the course content rather than just me, like we do in the face-to-face class. So I would like us to consider those online nights not as nights off, but as opportunities for learning. And so that is why I made the online nights worth 15% of your grades. The primary way that you'll be participating during those online nights will be through forum posting and discussions. And so I've posted some guidelines on the Beach Board site that can give you more information on that. Then we have a philosophy statement. That's going to be worth 15% of your grade. If you took a look at the course calendar, you see that that is spread throughout the semester. You're going to be working on it at different times. We're going to have the Wikispace group project, which is going to be another big part of your grade, and then there'll be the blog share. So, like I said, I'm going to talk about these when we get together, but I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the philosophy statement, the blog share, and the CPA. So I did kind of just address the CPAs, and you have your first online CPA this week. You're going to be posting on the discussion forum. There's a link to it on your Beachboard site underneath week 1. And you also need to do the blog share for next week. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start each face-to-face meeting with a discussion about assessment. So I think it's important not just that as graduate students and practitioners you read the research, but that you also know what people are saying. And when I say about certain topics. And when I say people, I mean leaders in the field of education or organizations or institutions that lead in the field of education. So if you take a look in your syllabus, I've given you a list of blogs. What I would like to do, each of you to do this semester is to subscribe to one of those blogs and check in with it every week. So some of them are really geared more towards assessment and some are more education in general, but if you scroll through the recent posts or even some very recent archived posts, you should be able to find topics relevant to assessment. So you are not limited to the list of blogs that I gave you, but if you are going to use another blog, it needs to kind of go through me first for approval because it needs to be from an actual leader in the field or an institution, not just, XYZ classroom teacher's blog. So I would like to begin every class with the first 15 to 20 minutes discussing those posts that you read. So we will, like I said, you can choose any of the posts, but you'll be bringing those in. You'll be describing to your classmates what you read about, and then we can open those up for discussion. So that is one of the assignments that's going to be part of your in-class participation activity grade. And so those are important that you do subscribe to them, you do read them, and that you bring them in and you have a choice of what you would like to discuss each week, which topic related to assessment. And then there is the philosophy statement. And so I'm going to talk about that because you do have part of that due week 2. So what you're going to do, and I'll get to the philosophy statement in a second. What you're going to do this week is I've posted 2 videos for you. One is from Edutopia, which is, if that is not a website that you are familiar with, you should get yourself familiar with it. They cover a range of topics and a range of grades, and they really do discuss some important issues regarding project-based learning and technology, and they have a really great series called the Big Thinker series, which you can hear all kinds of big names talk about particular topics. It's one that I use in many of my classes. I really enjoy that website. And then I have a video from ETS. So of course, if you're not familiar with ETS, it's the Educational Testing Service, and they'll talk about that a little bit in the video. And of course, part of the video is a plug for ETS, but what I like about the video is that it really kind of gives you some of the historical context for assessment and then talks about what some of the needs are going to be for assessment moving forward. So it's a nice overview, and it's called Positioning Assessment for the 21st Century. So I think it'll give you a really nice broad strokes about some of the topics. Now, of course, our topic for the class are going to be classroom-based assessment, but obviously classroom-based assessment falls under the umbrella of educational assessment in general, and all of those decisions and policies and procedures and things that are related to the larger umbrella of educational assessment influence what we do in the classroom. And so we're going to take some broad strokes this week, and then we're going to narrow down as we get through the semester. You'll have a chapter that is scanned in for you on the history of educational testing. So that's from another text that I have, and I'd like to share that with you. And then you need to, in terms of the blog share, you need to choose the blog that you would like to subscribe to. If you subscribe to one and then in a couple of weeks you decide you really didn't like it, you may subscribe to another. But see if you can, choose one and go through. This way you kind of get the feel for the blog and the folks that post on it, whether some of them are just one person blogging and some are several different bloggers. And you have to do the forum post, and then you need a draft of your philosophy statement. So in the syllabus, I sort of describe what this assessment philosophy statement is, but essentially over the course of the semester, you're going to be considering what is your philosophy regarding educational assessment and classroom based assessment. And so I want you to start thinking about it now. So when I ask you to write the draft, this is really a draft. This is a very rough draft. Obviously, we're all coming to this course with varying backgrounds and different knowledge about assessment and different experience with assessment. And so that's going to inform what your statement looks like now and then what it eventually looks like by the end of the semester. So it's not anything that I'd like you to be nervous about, and it's not anything you're going to be graded on now. You are just going to be given credit for turning in the draft, and I will take a look at it and give you some feedback, and my feedback will primarily just be in the form of questions that I have for you. So in order for you to start thinking about your own philosophy on assessment, I thought it might, and I'm just going to get out of this, I thought it might be useful for you to see some suggestions on writing an educational philosophy statement. So I don't know if you've done that in your program. Maybe you did it in your credential program. It's kind of a common activity, or it's part of a capstone often. So in thinking about your philosophy on assessment, you may want to consider kind of, what do you feel the purpose of education is? What is your role as an educator? How do you reach a diverse set of students? How do you define a community of learners? Because if you think about these topics, should inform your views on assessment. So our final philosophy statement will be about 2 to 3 pages. If you can only come up with about a page for this draft, that's totally acceptable. If you can come up with, or you come up with more, that's fine as well. So know that over the course of the next couple weeks, you can either add to that philosophy statement, or you can whittle it down if you wrote more than the 2 to 3 pages. But really what I'm looking for is your thoughts on educational assessment. How do your beliefs about teaching and about education influence what you do in terms of assessment? Some of that, if you're in the classroom, is within your control, obviously, and then some of that is beyond your control, because we do have other institutional forces that influence what we do regarding assessment. But those institutional forces may also help inform your philosophy on assessment. So that is something that needs to come in to class with you on next Thursday, when we do finally meet in person. So you need that draft. Let me see if I can get to, I don't know if I left it open, but okay, so if you take a look at Beachboard, you'll see I've got the videos here for you. Then I have this glossary of assessment terminology, and it's just a resource that you'll be able to use now in the future. Take a look at it. It just defines exactly what it is. It's an online glossary, and it defines some of the assessment terminology. I think it's from the International Reading Association. So you'll also see I gave you I linked you to that page that I just showed you for the philosophy statement, and then I have your forum here. So for this week, what I would like you to do is after you read the chapter and you view the 2 videos, I'd like to hear your thoughts on educational assessment. So you can consider, but you're not limited to, thoughts on kind of how we got to the point we're at, thoughts on where we've been, the historical context, thoughts on where we need to go in terms of educational assessment and classroom assessment. What do you think the purpose of assessment is? How do you use assessment? So I'm not asking you to go through this list and address every bullet, but these are just some prompts for your thinking. Really what I want to do is start to explore some of your beliefs and your knowledge regarding educational assessment. And you can use this thinking and what you put into this post to kind of help inform that draft philosophy statement. So I think that's probably it for this week. Generally, if we just read pieces not from the text online, I don't really kind of go through them all. Even in class, I'm not necessarily going to give a long lecture. I like to kind of discuss some of the big ideas and then get into activities that help us apply those ideas. And so I obviously don't want to give you a 3-hour lecture here for the first night of our class. So make sure that you watch those videos, make sure that you read that chapter, make sure you subscribe to a blog, and then make sure you post on that forum. What you need to come to class with on Tuesday is, of course, the draft philosophy statement, the something to share for the blog share. So you need to read a blog post on educational assessment and then take a look at the course calendar, and you need to have the week 2 readings done. So you'll be into the Pop-Em chapter for week 2. So I will see you all next Thursday at 5 o'clock in AS 240, and I look forward to meeting all of you.